You don't even need
Our,
this.
our hugs are a little provocative or catalytic. Um, it is good to be here with all of you today. It's good to be here with you to hear today like this. And who knows what will come next. I know that as I look at all of you, and as I was standing back there and listening to Rand, my heart just started pounding. And I was like, I think that is me feeling for the significance of how we've all come together like this today. And I can say to you really sincerely, and it feels sweet, that I really hope, that in the next couple of minutes I can offer something to you, anything to you, that you find interesting or meaningful. So I'm going to talk about presencing time, I think. And to do that, I think it's about being able to gratefully receive our inheritance from the past, to creatively work with it in the present as if it was the most important thing to do, in order to be able to generously offer your life in service and as celebration. And that's your legacy for the future. But before we get there, I want to say that doing that asks something of you. It requires something of you. It's not just for free. And what it asks of you is that you recognize how precious your life is, and that you let your heart learn how to dance. So that's where I want to start. You are so precious. Your life is so precious. And if it feels indecent for you to taste that, you're getting close. If it's comfortable for you to recognize how precious your life is, go much further than that. You have to go to the place where it begins to feel indecent. You can always see, and it's actually sad, how well someone's life has been loved by how much love they can take before they start to feel embarrassed to receive it. And it's hard to receive something or to offer something that you haven't received, so we begin to cultivate this just here. Your life is precious. Have you ever given a gift to anyone and they loved it? It just lit them up. They were just like, yes! And you were like, yes! I've had that experience with my niece and nephews. You're like, yes! And then, if we're lucky, some of us have given the gift where they're like, Oh, thank you very much. That's just what I wanted. And that feels awful, doesn't it? So I would like to propose that your life, the life you're living, is a gift, a precious treasure, and that the appropriate response to receiving that gift is to celebrate it and to offer it in service. To receive that gift, celebrate it, and then offer that as service. And, really importantly, for I think what we've been doing, your life is not just precious to you, your life is precious to your ancestors. Your life is the investment account of the life of all your ancestors, your family, your culture, your civilization. If you really pay attention and feel deeply, all of creation rests on the needlehead. We don't know how many angels are dancing there of your life, right? So I would like to say that your life is the crest of a wave composed of the water that is literally the blood, sweat, and tears of your ancestors, long-bellied in the womb of the ocean. That your life is the tip of the spear of the ferocious hopes and dreams of everything that has come before you. That the flower of your life is called in the sun that is shining here on all of us to bloom in a radiant glory that honors those hopes and dreams in the unique celebration of your own hopes and dreams. So that is my proposal of preciousness. How sweet it is. This is not just important. That would be a fear I would have. We'd think that's important, but it's not urgent. So then I'm like, why do I think it's urgent? Well, Mary Oliver has said, doesn't everything die at last and all too soon? Doesn't everything and everyone die at last and all too soon? It's that urgent. She says, tell me, what is it you're doing with this one wild and inconsolably precious life? Whatever you're doing with it, that's how you're gratefully receiving, generously offering, and presencing time. And that urgency, although it can feel like a burden, I think is a blessing. And I'm reminded of that with this little conversation where a little one says, how old do you have to be to die? And I said, I don't think anyone's ever old enough. And that made sense to him because he was still new to the world, and so he remembered how forever had been. And then she looked at me. And then she looked at me. And in that place, the place of her looking, there was nothing more to ask of life than this moment with you, just so. And my heart danced like a candle flame from the feeling of her breath on my chest. And suddenly, forever was too short. And suddenly, forever was not long enough. From the way that my heart, hopefully your heart, dances like a candle flame from feeling her breath on our chest. So I really believe, as one of my most important secrets, that you can't presence time if your heart can't dance. And your heart will always dance if you can feel her breath on your chest. And you don't need me to tell you who she is. I might say something about it, but that's almost an indecency, because you all know. She's breathing on our chest right now. It's just a matter of paying attention. And if you do and you feel it, you will meet her. If you want to find out and you live in the question, you'll meet her. But if you don't want to live in the question, you can get a lot of answers that will never make an introduction. In the old biblical traditions, they actually say that creation is billowing forth in great gusts that are called the breath of the merciful. And that is always her breath on our chest. The breath of the merciful is always feminine gendered. So, if we can recognize that preciousness, and if we can learn to let our hearts dance, feeling her breath on our chest, then what happens? Well, then I feel what I've seen is that you will harvest the very best of what's potential from the field of possibility, and you will express it in the concrete situations and circumstances of your life, in service, as a celebration. Our life is always in the midst of what's actually happening, of course. Unfortunately, some people say that's all that's happening. There's just what is, there's just this. But this also includes the way that our life is in the midst of the field of possibility and potential. And so one of my questions for you that I grappled with for some time is, who is courageous and vulnerable, heartbroken enough to stand in the privilege and responsibility to be of service so that the very best of what's potential can be actualized and brought forth and expressed in the concrete situations and circumstances of our life. I think that's what a leader does. I would like to say that the leader is the person who does that, is the custodian at that juncture. And that means at the custodian, or as the custodian at that juncture, that we will gratefully, and sometimes that takes work. Sometimes that breaks your heart more than once. Gratefully receive our inheritance from the past. And that's the legacy of the past offered to us as our inheritance. And we've seen this. Their heart to hands, to our hands and heart. And then we'll work with it skillfully, taking good care of it as if it was the most important thing, to bring something new into the world through it in service and as celebration. And that will be what we offer generously as the legacy of our life to the future. Our heart and hands to their hands and heart. I think that the crop of the future is always harvested from planting the seeds of the past in the soil that is the field of possibility and potential. And then cultivating it and taking care of it in the work of the present moment so that the very best from those seeds and that soil can be offered in service as celebration, generously as our legacy to the future. And that means, it's very simple in a sense, that the living vitality of your life, sometimes we say the living presence of meaningful vitality that is beating in your heart and the heart of all life, includes the past, the present, and the future. It's all right here, which is pretty simple, except so many people give us advice that says, in order to be present, forget about the past and the future. Right? If you're thinking about the past and the future, then you're not present. Or sometimes people say, why are you dilly-dallying around in the present? There's important work to do. You should be focused on the future or honoring the past. But what if none of those could be separated? You know, like siblings who can't bear to be apart. Like lovers who can't bear to be apart. What if in order to be present, you had to have an awareness of the past and the future, because the past and the future are an integral part of the present? They're alive. The only past that matters is present now, and the only future that matters is present now. What if that's the way it was? So that means in order to take care of the past and to take care of the future, we'd have to be present right now. And that when we're not present right now, we actually lose our ability to take care of, to transform the past and the future. This is nice because sometimes people will say, the past has no bearing on the future. But if you just wait for someone to stub their toe and be in agony and remind them of this, they don't take it as a blessing. You know, or find an expectant mother and say, good thing is the past has no bearing on the present or the future. You're like, what? No, the past is literally alive in the present. What we do with it, how we take care of it, and what it becomes is not fixed, of course. I've also heard, and I'm sorry to ding him, I do appreciate him, but I'm going to ding him. And you can decide if you want to ding me for dinging him or whatever. But Sam Harris has said, this is how prevalent this is, and this is just how much I ache hearing this, that the past is only a memory. It is merely, he uses only and merely thoughts arising in the present moment. The future is only anticipation. It is merely thoughts arising in the present moment. So find someone you love and say, good news is you have no reality to me outside of thoughts arising in the present moment, and see if they take it as a compliment. And if they don't, why would we expect that the past or the future would feel any better about it? Our thoughts arising in the present are in relationship with the past and the future, of course, but the past and the future is a reality that exceeds even as it is included within our thoughts arising in the present. So I'm going to close with a story about trees and hearts, because I want to come back to this dancing heart. I'm at least captivated by it. It's said that civilizations grow great when its citizens plant trees under whose shade they know they will never sit. Civilizations grow great when their citizens plant trees in whose shade they know they will never sit. Susan B. Anthony that we were talking about yesterday, right? So let's have this actually be Susan B. Anthony. Luckily, there is a story, a recorded story, thank God, where you had somebody planting those trees and you could ask them what the hell they were doing. What does it feel like to plant those trees? Who is the person who plants those trees? So we'll say Susan B. Anthony's planting that tree, and people ask her, and she said, I am beautifying this moment, and I am benefiting future generations. And to me, that is staggering. Because again, it means if we're not willing to beautify this moment, we're probably not going to benefit future generations. And if we're not going to benefit future generations, we probably can't benefit or beautify this moment. They have to go together. They have to be together. So hearts, there is research on this, and again, luckily you guys have a lot of resources and intelligence, so you can Google this if you like. There's literally research that says you can predict the future. Bad news, only 15 seconds. Verified so far. But still, predict the future? Even 15 seconds, actually predict it? Only if you are deeply present in your heart. At least so far, that's the only way they found it. So, this is hearts. There is a road, a path that is always beckoning you. It's calling your name. And you will know it, you will recognize it when you see its two sides converge on the distant horizon and simultaneously in the depths of your heart. That's the only way you know it's where you have to go. That's the only way that you know it's the path that is yours, that knows your name. And then David White says, it's just beyond yourself. It's where you need to be. Marcus Aurelius said, I believe, wasn't there, the things we do in time ring in the halls of eternity. And as I sort of put that together, I get this sense that the heart that can dance like a candle flame from the feeling of her breath on my chest plants those trees that beautify this moment and benefit future generations. And that heartbeat will ring in the halls of eternity. So, thank you very, very much.